Okay, so first things first, I want to congratulate Plexor and Dennis for being the first people who have managed to beat this level before I personally revealed the solution to it. Dennis, some of you already know him. He's the one who made Super Troll Castle, a level I've played on my Mario Maker playlist. If you want to check out more of his levels, I suggest you check out my Super Troll Castle video and you'll get a link to his level and therefore the rest of his level. Plexor, I have no idea who you are, but I'm gonna assume that you put in the same amount of effort as Dennis to actually beat this level. And Dennis, he apparently streamed for 9 hours before he actually managed to beat this level. And apparently he's ready to upload his own footage of how he eventually succeeded. So you might, if you guys want a different perspective on how you beat this level, then I suppose you should check out his YouTube channel as well. Anyway, moving forward with the solution, as well as a bunch of failures. So right at the beginning, there's a P-switch right under here. One of your first inclinations might be to check it out by going over here. But if you do that, you're going to get stuck under these blocks, which is guaranteed death. There is no escape. Nothing you do will save you if you go down there. So the other obvious thing that you'll probably do right at the beginning is go down this pretty obvious pipe. If you do that, you'll be led all the way over here, and it's one way once you jump over here. So you gotta go through this pretty daunting segment, but it's easier than it looks. Once you know the obvious spot where you're supposed to go, it's like quite easy. However, if you get hit once, you're dead. Because it's Inkling in Kaizoland 3, not Mario in Kaizoland 3. Once you reach this spot and you're not big, there is no passage for you to go through. You're dead. There's also an invisible block right there. So assuming that you are big and you reach this spot right here, there's also a trap right here. So careful. Now assuming you're big and you decide not to fall for the obvious trap, you can get all the way over here. And one of the obvious passages for you to use is this green pipe, which leads you right to the end, the very, very end. But of course, it would be way too easy if people could beat the level this quickly. So you got all the way over here, and you know that green pipe is gonna lead you to your death. So where are you supposed to go? Well, you're supposed to go through here as an exit. Basically, this is supposed to be your exit and entry to that area. The obvious green pipe right at the beginning is a total trap. If you go through that pipe, you're dead. You're doomed, rather. There's nothing you can do. So, as you all saw right there, that's what you're supposed to do to reach this area. And you're supposed to do it so you can reveal this invisible block right here. That's it. That's the entire reason you went through all of that. Then you go through this door, and you're back here. And that's when you're actually supposed to do this part right here. And it can be finished relatively quickly if you know exactly where to jump. It's shown right here. So I took quite a few risks, but it's really important that you get a good grip on how to do that first part, because you're going to be doing it a lot if you intend on trying to beat this level. Anyway, there's a hidden block right here with a vine. You climb it, and there's a couple of doors up here. You want to go through the right one, then the left one. Be careful of which doors you go through here, because one of them will eventually lead to your death, although you don't want to go through that one and see. So all of the first part was to just reveal this invisible block right down here. If you do not reveal that invisible block, you're obviously going to fall. Because what else would happen? But yeah, so finally we get to this area for the second part. And before I continue to the donut bridge part, there's a trap right here that I did not really exemplify really easily. If you hit one of those invisible blocks, you're likely going to fall between the moving blocks, which will kill you. So careful. For the donut bridge part, the obvious thing to do is to go right here, but it's a trap, obviously. Well, maybe not so obviously, but it is a trap. If you try to go through that door, that's the wrong thing to do. So, assuming you don't fall for those two traps, the thing you'll obviously do is go to the blue platforms to climb up here and go through this green pipe. But it just leads you all the way back here, so what's the point? Well, before we continue actually, here's the thing. There are at the very least 4 parts in this stage that are extremely difficult. Like, if you guys see these parts, how they need to be done, you'll just be so disgusted by them that you won't even bother trying this level anymore. Because just looking at them, you can tell they're obnoxious to do. And right here, this donut bridge part is the first of those insane segments. Behold. Yes, your eyes do not deceive you. You in fact do have to actually reveal that invisible block that way. You can do it from the other sense if you absolutely want to, but the main thing to remember is that you have to gauge the difference in distance between those two donut blocks that you make fall, and use that distance to know when to jump to reveal the invisible block while landing on the other donut block. Because if you can't do that, you're gonna die all the time on that part. And know what the worst part is? That's the easiest of the 4 obnoxious segments. You know, after doing probably the only squid party I'll ever do, you have to reveal this invisible block right down here. It's not nearly as difficult, but obviously that's why there's 2 blue platforms. Because you need to wait for one to come back down so that you can use it to reveal that invisible block. Then you can go to this green pipe. Because otherwise you got here for no reason. Those 2 invisible blocks that you revealed back in the second part with the donut bridge, you did that because you needed an escape route for what you're about to really do. This trampoline segment, just be careful of that one invisible block right here. It's not too difficult, but we'll go over failures after I show the rest of this second part. So you reveal this invisible block right above the arrow, you press the B switch, go on these donut blocks, move a lot to the right so that you can enter this door. And now you're back here, and you can easily collect those coins which reveal the, well, open the passage for this green pipe so that you can reveal more invisible blocks right here. So yeah, once you've done that, you can finally escape from this donut bridge part and continue on with the level. But again, as I said, this is the least difficult part of this stage. The insanity that you're about to behold is gonna get worse. Well, technically, you guys will see. You guys will see. Before we continue, let's go over some failures. So for the trampoline segment, if you screw up and fall down here, you're dead because invisible blocks. There is no escape. You just let yourself die at this point. For the donut bridge part, you do not obviously want to try to get to the pieces from the left side, the right side, I mean, because you're gonna die. And if you try to like ignore the door and try to jump to the pipe from the right, obviously you can't go in there because there was a barrier there that's there specifically to prevent you from going to the right. And some of you may have discerned, but it's possible to jump to that green pipe from the other side. But if you do that, you're gonna get stuck. But astute players might have realized that there is a way to cheese that entire trampoline segment and the one with the donut bridge where you have to enter the door. If you use the P switch right at the beginning, you can actually use it to cheese the segment by unblocking the passage for you. The thing to remember, however, is that you do need to have those 2 invisible blocks at the donut bridge part already revealed. So you can't avoid doing the hard part. Now, before I continue, if you guys will remember, right at the beginning, there was this segment with the white skull graft where there was a bunch of invisible blocks that would lead to a green pipe stuck in like some kind of tower. And that is the only way you can get inside that green pipe, revealing those invisible blocks. But going through that ride with the skull raft is always going to lead to your death, no matter what. So what you have to do is reveal those invisible blocks and survive the ordeal. And if you guys notice that blue skull raft at the right there, it might seem like it would follow its own track, but it actually moves to the left as a pseudo trap for beginning players. But no, it's not a trap at all. Watch as I show the true purpose of that blue skull raft and the most difficult part of this level. Yeah, that's how you reveal those invisible blocks. Now, if some of you paid attention, I actually did not jump when I initially landed on it to the other side, because I found in testing that jumping when you land on it on the first when you manage to land on it on the left side usually kills you. It usually kills you. Anyway, I went all the way over here just to check to see if it's actually possible to finish the level with the way I revealed the invisible blocks, because I didn't reveal all of them, obviously, but you need to reveal a couple of them at the very least. Specifically, you need to reveal one of the 2 last invisible blocks if you want to have a chance to beat the level. Otherwise, this was a waste of time and you have to do the blue skull raft segment again. So for this part, you have to press the P switch. You have to quickly go through it because there's a block that you have to unblock using the P switch. And it involves mostly running and jumping at that last part, because if you do not go through that last part properly, you'll reveal an invisible block that will permanently screw you over. Suspense building right here, but it's kind of pointless. For right here, we need to reveal one last invisible block so that we do not get screwed over when we eventually get to this part. It looks daunting what I did right here, but for this part right here, you'll see that I actually jump into that invisible block's location anyway, so revealing the invisible block can be cheesed, kinda, sorta. For going back into that green pipe, you want to just move to the left while standing on the first skull. Overall, for most of the traps here, you'll really want to just practice them on edit mode, because otherwise you'll never beat this level. It took a ton of practice for me to beat this level. And it probably took a ton of practice for Plexor and Dennis to beat this level as well. Now, with all of this done, we finally set everything up so that we can actually reach that pipe inside the tower all the way over here. And now, it's time for an action segment. Jump, 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 jump while running, otherwise you'll get crushed. For here, you just run to the left at the right time. This is nothing, although careful not to kill yourself anyway. Now right here, there's an invisible block that will screw you over, but you can actually tell where it is based on the 2 blocks under you. See? See how it matches its like their trajectory? That's how you're able to tell where the invisible block is. Of course, you can also tell where it is by cheating and looking at edit mode, but that's kind of expected, honestly. Here, you have to run, and do not underestimate that part. It's really, really hard. Here, it's a fairly basic run to the P-switch. You have to just gauge when you have to do it. Don't get crushed here. And I'm running out of time, but that's okay. Now, this part right here, this is the absolute most difficult part before I nerfed it. See, originally, right under me, there was going to be 4 blocks moving in directions, and there was going to be a very specific way where you were supposed to drop down into them, but I found that as I started playing the level and getting to this part, the blocks will be all messed up, and it will be literally impossible to beat this part. So what I first did is I removed one of those blocks so that there was only 3, but then I found that it was still impossible despite that, so I nerfed it to Oblivion by only leaving 2 blocks, unfortunately. So if you want me to be extremely technical, no one's ever beaten Inkling Kaizoland 3 because I nerfed that part to Oblivion. I should have found an alternate way of making it harder. Now, final part right here, it would obviously be way too easy to beat the level if you could just walk up to that flagpole, because... So what I did is I put invisible blocks all over it, and some people were actually quite confused as to how you're supposed to beat the level with invisible block all around it. Well, turns out the solution is quite obvious. See, there's a track under you if you look carefully. So what you're supposed to do is get one block that is all the way to the left over there to come on down. You just have to jump like, well, over the abyss to make it appear. See? That's what you're supposed to do to actually beat the level. You just need to go right over here and wait for it so that it makes you rise up for a second, which is just enough for you to reach the flagpole. Behold the true evil of Inkling Kaizoland 3. Even when it seems like you found a solution, you're still doomed. So yeah, that invisible block is there for people who think they've got it solved. It's for people who think they've got it solved, but no. It's actually a little bit more complicated than this. You have to reveal the first 5 blocks, or at the very least the 5th block, as Plexor showed. And then you have to jump on the side of that block to finally beat the level. And that's how you beat Inkling Kaizoland 3. Sorry if my explanation was all over the place, but I felt like showing pretty much everything I could for this level. Code right here if you want to try this level yourself. So yeah, that's the Inkling Kaizoland 3 solution. Out of 20,000 attempts, only 2 people managed to beat this level. 3 if you count myself. And I fully understand these results because unlike Inkling Kaizoland 1 and 2, this is a level that requires a ton of execution to actually be beaten. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this video and hope you have a nice day. Bye bye.